News, and I tell you what, there's some interesting stories coming out. Manchester United could see the departure of David De Gea. That will please a lot of people. It won't please me, but it could be a reality. We'll talk about that. Also, Harry Maguire, what's the latest with him? Rasmus Højlund, a very hot story. Remember what I said 2 weeks ago about that? We'll talk about that again. He's been speaking about his desire to join Manchester United. It's going to happen. We'll revisit what I said a couple of weeks on that. On that. Goalkeeper situation, of course, who could be coming in? There's talk of Costa tonight. I don't really think it's going to happen, but we'll talk about that too. James Maddison's been mentioned. A few stories about a few other bits as well, you know, involving current United players potentially leaving and going. And of course, a fantastic, Matt D, welcome to the Members Club, by the way. A fantastic interview that you might have seen Beth doing with Ben Jacobs at 4 o'clock today. It's well worth a watch back. If you're into the sale of Manchester United, that was really, really heavy, but interesting, really in depth. I would give it a watch. 4 o'clock interview on the United Stand with Ben Jacobs, really interesting. The one thing I took away from it was that, and it's great to see loads of people saying 100% because it was really, really good. Fantastic interview, said Rocket. Maguire to Wolves is the surprise for me. Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic interview, and there's loads in there about transfers and stuff, which I didn't get to listen to because I was going to the dentist, so I can't really clarify. You'd have to bring that into me. But the one thing that really came out of the bit about the sale was that Qatar and Al Thani are pushing this really hard because they're worried about the transfer situation. They're worrying about Manchester United being devalued. They're worrying about the Glazers basically damaging the club by delaying the sale and therefore messing up the summer transfer window, which could... Look, my theory is this. I don't know what people think. If we mess up this transfer window, it could set us back 3 years. I don't think people realise that. If you snooze, you can lose big time. And if we get this summer transfer window wrong and everyone else gets it right, that could take us 2 or 3 years to recover from. And what I'm saying is, if Arsenal get a couple of good signings, Liverpool get 3 in, and we mess it up, we'll go backwards, they'll go forwards. So, you know, it sounds like Qatar are pushing this deal. They want it done really, really quickly because they want to get moving and they don't want to see us falling behind. So, look, where's Sir Jim in all this? So, to me, look, I think Sir Jim Radcliffe's PR is crap. Absolutely terrible. Come on the show, Sir Jim. Tell us what's going on. Get somebody on because your PR is rubbish. It looks like you want to keep the Glazers, you want to keep the debt, and you don't even care when the deal gets done. There's no talk of urgency from your side, and yet the transfer window's about to open. Mark, I'm worried there aren't enough good midfielders to go around. Liverpool needs 2 and Arsenal need a few. To what does that leave for United, says Lit, who's been a member for 9 months. Good point. And Mark, why weren't you on the Fozcast, says Kevin, because it was recorded last week. That's an old recording, so yeah. Anyway, let's get into it. Josh Cullens has just gifted a membership. So the title says De Gea leaving, ? Well, I hope not. Personally, I'm probably in the minority here. But Mark Ogden in the ESPN has got this to say about David De Gea. With his contract expiring at the end of the month, he could appeal to clubs in Saudi Arabia looking to sign high-profile free agents. A departure from Old Trafford is still a possibility. After 12 years in Manchester, De Gea would prefer a return to Spain to be closer to his family, but there are no viable options for him there at the moment, so signing the deal on offer is the most likely outcome at Manchester United. So, look, this is interesting because I can't ignore the fact that there's a lot of United fans that would like to see De Gea go. He has been, I think, treated badly by ex-players who really will defend Maguire and anybody else with a British passport, you know, no matter what. But if you've got a foreign passport and even if you're a legend, they'll just throw you in. They'll throw you in the bin. You know, they did it with Ronaldo. Now they're doing it with De Gea. We know if this was a British player, it'd be very, very different. But that's the situation David De Gea is in now. You know, he's got TV pundits, ex-legends of Man United, publicly saying he needs to go. That's not good. That is not a good look. And I'm surprised by it because I expected a little bit more class from them. You've got United fans who can say what they like. I respect that. They want De Gea to go. He's out of contract. That contract's not been signed yet. He could walk away. He could go to Saudi Arabia. I think he's going to sign the contract. I think the contract will get signed because that's been the latest update for about 3 months. Ten Hag wants him to sign. De Gea wants to stay. the club want him to stay, the contract gets signed. Why there's the delay on it, I don't know. And this is where conspiracy thrives. And I think this is where United get things a little bit wrong. The explanation I've had is that there's a little bit of uncertainty on signing the contract off when they don't know what's going on with the sale, because it is quite a big contract. He's on over 200 grand a week. If there was stability, the contract would have already been signed. However, there are these other stories that De Gea might be waiting to see who United are going to sign up as the other goalkeeper, because if they did buy a David Raya or a Pickford, then they're first team keepers, and David De Gea doesn't want to sit on the bench. There's other people saying, well, Ten Hag's waiting to see who buys the club, because then he might be able to buy a goalkeeper. So there's a lot of conspiracy going on here. I'd say there's a very, very high chance that he'll sign the new contract and will bring in a cheaper goalkeeper, because that's always been the plan. But if he did leave, they'd have to buy a more senior goalkeeper to come in. And I think in that case, you've got to be looking at Maignan from Milan, you've got to be looking at Onana from Inter Milan, or you've got to be looking at Costa from Porto, or at the very least, David Raya from Brentford before he goes to Spurs. You can't be looking at Jordan Pickford as your number one goalkeeper at Man United. Bloody hell. That's like replacing a plate of lasagna with a piece of cold toast. It's terrible. I can't speak. We can't do that. So I think that Josh Cullins has gifted a membership there. I think what we've got here, and Glazers Out says, Sir Jim Rat is doing as he's told by the Glazers and the Rain Group, just like he got told hold of the clubs, he will do as the Glazers say, says Glazers Out. Surrish says, Mark, the only thing I'd say is paying him over 250 for a new deal is bad for United. Do you think there's a documentary being made about the sale? Let's hope so, says Chris. And also, Daniel, welcome to Members Club. What happens, because even if the preferred bidder is announced this week, it will still take 6 or 7 weeks for the new owners to have powers for signing, says Rory. Can we come back to that, Rory, because it's a good point. Let's just finish up on De Gea here. So yeah, look, when it comes to David De Gea, I think that this is a prime example, and almost, you know, you got the Beth side, you got the Goldbridge side. I'd keep him, Beth would get rid of him, and you can go anywhere you want between. I don't mind. It's, you know, it's all about opinion. I can see both sides and I know what I'd do. But what I would say is, but no matter what you think about De Gea, this situation, we talk about signings, we talk about sales. The De Gea situation actually, again, evidences the problem that Erik Ten Hag has got. He wants De Gea to stay because he thinks his budget's not there to buy a goalkeeper. So he wants De Gea to stay so he can move on and get the striker, the midfielder, whatever. He can't even get De Gea's contract signed off. That's how messed up. And forget the goalkeeper situation, because some of you will be going, well, that's good, that's good. Forget that. What about Rashford's contract? You know, the reality is that transfers, contracts, the whole lot just seems to be on lockdown, handbrake at the moment. And how frustrating that must be for Erik Ten Hag, because he's planning to have De Gea next season and wants to get Mount and a striker in. He can't even have the contract signed off of De Gea. Like, it's just everything at United at the moment just seems to be on hold. And that is a problem. Now, Rory says, you know, if they announce that they're going to go with Guitar this week, it could be 6 or 7 weeks before they get hold of the club. I don't think that will matter, Rory. I think as soon as the club announces what they're doing, you can start moving ahead on transfers based on that. If you listen to the video with Ben Jacobs today, there won't be an exclusivity period. There won't be a preferred bidder period. They'll literally start moving very, very quickly. Mark, what's your issue with Maddison? Him and Mount played in underperforming teams, yet Maddison shined with better stats than Bruno, would be decent. I don't rate James Maddison FIFA crazy. I don't. I mean, I might get proved wrong on it, but I don't rate him. I don't think he's got it. I think he's a Spurs player. I don't think he's a Man United player. I don't think he's a Chelsea player. I don't think he's an Arsenal player. I certainly don't think he's a Liverpool or a Man City player. That's my issue with James Maddison. I think he's good, but I think this didn't used to happen when I was growing up back in the 40s. No, but back in basically the 90s when I was proper growing up, there were good players that played for good teams, but not everybody was the best player in the league. And I think Maddison's been overhyped. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's got the potential to be Bruno Fernandes or Kevin De Bruyne or Odegaard, and I just wouldn't go near him. If we get a new goalkeeper and he makes a mistake, what will people say then, says Cameron? Well, hopefully they'll stick with him. Stuart has gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much. Look, if David De Gea leaves and Manchester United get a new goalkeeper, I will back that goalkeeper because that is what I do. I don't not back any signing, even if I don't want them. Lukaku, I was really worried about his first touch. Fellaini, I bloody didn't want him. And I did give them time until I realised I was right. And you've got to give them a little bit of time. Of course you have. But look, I think David De Gea will end up staying at Manchester United. And I think actually what's going on is the delay in the contract is because of the delays that are going on in the club altogether. Everything just seems to be on a standstill. But you know what? There is an opportunity for him to just run his contract down and walk away, which would be really sad because he's been at this club. He's won Player of the Year many times. He deserves a proper send-off. But look, not everyone gets them. And I guess we will just have to wait and see what happens next with that. I want to talk about Rasmus Højlund very, very quickly, just to give a bit of clarity on this. So Rasmus Højlund has been talking in an interview, I think it's come out today, basically saying that, you know, he wants to play for the best teams in the world and Manchester United would be the dream because they're one of the big teams. You know, look, the situation with Rasmus Højlund, I said this 2 weeks ago. I'm really pleased with the people we've got to talk to anyway on the United stand. 2 million followers on Twitter today, by the way. You're legends. But I'm really happy with the people that we talk to in general, whether it's the summer transfer window or whether it's February talking about the sale. In relation to Rasmus Højlund, I said it to you 2 weeks ago and I'll say it to you right now. I don't want to jinx it with 90%, but that deal, I reckon it happens. From what I'm being told, that deal happens. Now, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to do what pretenders do on Twitter and say 100% Højlund done. In fact, they'll probably hear this and do it and pretend they know, even though they won't know anything. Because, you know, we've seen Sancho that should have happened and it didn't. We've seen other transfers that should have happened like Haaland and it didn't. You know, I think it's very, very difficult as a journalist or anybody, even when you know something's pretty much going to happen. With United, you can never say 100% because we are so bad at negotiating. But from what I was told a couple of weeks ago and what we're hearing again, Rasmus Højlund, I mean, Ben Jacobs was on about it today. I've heard a few people going on about it over the last few days. But I was told 2 weeks ago, Rasmus Højlund, and this was when Harry Kane was still on the picture. I was told that Rasmus Højlund to Manchester United was hotter than the sun. The sun's very hot. You can't even get close to it. It will take your fingers off, take your skin off. So it must be very, very hot. My thought at that time was that we were going to sign Kane and Højlund. I don't know what the plan is around the striker at the moment. It might just be Højlund and that's it, and we move Rashford up front. But he is really hot. He actually said that there's been no video conversation or anything with United, but conversations have definitely taken place with people close to him. I suspect it's probably with Atalanta and his agents, but of course, remember, he's just moved to Ten Hag's agency. But that deal's hot. It's really, really hot. And I think it's going to happen. I have this feeling that deal will be done by July the 10th. It might even be done by the end of June. But that deal just feels like it's a very quick deal that United can do with Atalanta, who they've dealt with before with Ahmad, and same agency as Erik Ten Hag. It's got that feel. And from what I'm hearing and what was told 2 weeks ago, it's really, really hot. But he's on international duty, I think, at the moment. And United are capable of dropping the egg and it smashing on the floor. But I think it looks really, really good. And if you want anything that's credible and something to feel positive about, that deal, I would say, is right up there with Mason Mount. It might not be as advanced as Mason Mount because United might be waiting on... I don't know what they're doing about whether he's the main striker or not, but that is a deal that United are desperate not to let slip through their fingers. And, you know, when I was speaking to someone a couple of weeks ago, they were saying, look, it could be that they leave him at Atalanta for a year and there's an agreement in place. It's very unlikely they'd sign him and loan him back because then your money's just... Man United haven't got the money to buy a player and then loan them back. They can't afford to do that. So there could be something where he waits a year, but ultimately that really won't benefit United if he goes and scores loads more goals. United need to get this deal done and trust him, and that's what Ten Hag wants to do. So look, let's just wait and see. But for me, that's the most advanced deal I'm hearing about and have been hearing about for the last 2 weeks, apart from Mason Mount. Yeah, so let's wait and see what happens with that. But look, not everyone's going to be excited about that. I really like him, but a few people have said today, you know, what do you think of this deal? What do you think of that deal? And I think it's important to remember where we are. Mason Mount is probably the most advanced deal that United are working on, but I don't think Rasmus Højlund's far behind it. I think the only reason it's not getting the focus is because it's Rasmus Højlund, who's a young player, but also because people still think that Osimhen or Kane are going to come. And I think we're moving further and further away from that. I mean, if I said to you, who's the striker we're signing now? Who is it? There is still an AMG meeting due on the 28th of June. Shareholders are going to be fuming if the Glazers tell them they chose Sir Jim. They will not get a bean, says Glenny Boy. We need a Maddison to replace Bruno. Bruno gives the ball away too much, says Ajit. I can't, Ajit, I disagree. But, you know, it's all about opinion. Why does everyone think Mount is useless? He can easily be a squad player for City. He's a decent player who will move play quickly from defence to attack. I like Mason Mount. I think Mason Mount's going to surprise a few people, because he's had a bad season, but so's Kovacic, and he's going to Man City. I think there's still there's a good player there, but I don't agree. To me, I mean, let's do a poll on that. For me, Mason Mount every day of the week over Maddison. But you know, I think Maddison's overrated. Look, I think he had a really good start to the season. He deserved to go to the World Cup, but every time I've watched him since Christmas, I think he's been bang average. Considering he was meant to be playing for a club that, you know, made him, really. I thought he was really, really poor. Really, really poor. Happy birthday to our moderator, George Kyle, says Renate. Happy birthday to George. He's been with us for a long time. Hope he's having a good day. Anyway, let's move on. There was a story about Maddison, so let's move on. Again, Mark Ogden says that basically Manchester United, Tottenham and Newcastle are in the hunt to sign James Maddison. And just talking about Newcastle, remember we were talking this morning about German reports were linking Manchester United to that midfielder, Felix N'Mika. Apparently Newcastle want him now. Well, if Newcastle buy him, they're not buying Scott McTominay. So get ready to throw up, because whatever you know or think you know or don't know about Felix N'Mika, he is now being heavily linked to Newcastle. So Man United could have been going for this 22-year-old, exciting, young, tall midfielder from Germany, and we could have been selling McTominay to Newcastle. Guess what? We're keeping McTominay and he's going to Newcastle. That's potentially what's going to happen. It's bloody typical, isn't it? And it all comes down to the same thing at the moment, the same concern. United are sat down with their seatbelt on, not doing anything, and everyone else is getting off the plane and getting their luggage. You know what I feel like? This is like Man United at the moment are like, you know when you go on holiday and you land in Ibiza and it says seatbelts off and everyone gets their hand luggage and they all go off down to the conveyor belt and they get their big luggage, and then they get on the bus or the taxi, and then they get to the hotel, and then they unpack and they put their shorts on and they go and have a drink by the bar and they just start chilling out. They're all doing that. They've already got the factor 50 on. You know, they're down by the pool with the pina colada. United are still sat on that plane. You know, they haven't took the seatbelt off yet. The pilot's saying, come on, when are you going to move? We're just not moving. We're not moving. We've got the handbrake on at the moment. And look, Newcastle want to sign Scott McTominay, and they could be just about to sign this player from Wolfsburg that, you know, is potentially a target for us. We're just slow. Everything's slow. And as I said, you know, you might want De Gea to stay, you might want De Gea to go, but the fact that he hasn't signed the contract is just more evidence of how United are just not even able to sign off contracts at the moment. It's terrifying. It's really terrifying how slow things are going. Zach says, hi Mark, right now you're one of my favourite people right now, excluding family members. Thank you. Recently I've been dealing with major mental health problems, and listening to your news and moments daily has really cheered me up, says Zach. Well, the great thing about what we do, Zach, is it's there every day, isn't it? It's a community every day. So, you know, we are a community. So, you know, if that makes you feel good and feels part of something, it's meant to, and it is something. So thank you very much. And look, when I did the show at Dublin last week, it's amazing. Like, there was 1,000 people there and you're just doing a live show interacting, and it's amazing. I want to get out and do more of it. So thank you very much. So yeah, Maddison has been linked to Manchester United according to Mark Ogden. I mean, what I would say is Mason Mount, if United can't get him, is James Maddison an alternative? Look, I'm not the director of football. I'm not Eric Ten Hag. I don't get to pick. 82% of you would go with Mount. 18% of you would go with Maddison. But what if Mason Mount doesn't sign for Manchester United because we're so crap at transfers, Chelsea don't sell him? And maybe that's why we're being linked to Maddison as an alternative. Mark, thoughts on Bernard leaving on a free after United rejected a 10 million offer for him from West Ham last year, says Arturo. It's typical. Typical. Centre-back Bernard has left on a free. We could have took money for him. Lingard last year went on a free. We could have got £20 million for him the year before. United just, it's... if I speak. Well, I will speak. We're just terrible at transfers. Absolutely terrible. Maguire is this is from Mark Ogden in the SBN as well. He says, Maguire is 4 years into a 6-year contract at Old Trafford, but Manchester United are prepared to offload their captain. There's a few stories going round about Maguire. And interestingly, I just want to check this while I'm live here because I'm not 100% sure. But I'm pretty sure he's on England duty. And it says that Eric Ten Hag's going to have a chat with him this week. But England are playing Malta on Friday night. And then on Monday, they play North Macedonia. So I don't see how Eric Ten Hag gets to have a chat with Harry Maguire this week because he's training with England all week. So I don't even know how that's going to work. And I think straight after England, he's flying off to, not Greece, he'll be flying off on holiday with his family again. So I don't think he's due back in Carrington until early July. So there's all these rumours that Eric Ten Hag's having these chats with all these players. But a lot of them are going to be on holiday and on international duty. So I don't know whether he's going to do it over Zoom or what, but... be interesting to see where Maddison goes from Leicester. We get 15% of the fee, says the Norwich Army. Thank you very much. Hope you're doing well. And Kind Killer says, Brighton might be making a 40 to 45 million bid for Sancho. Would you take that, or is Sancho worth keeping? As I said this morning, mate, I like Jadon Sancho. And personally, I'd be inclined to give him another year. However, I'm not the manager. And I don't see him train every week. And based on what I've seen and what I know, there's an issue with Jadon Sancho. And it's nothing to do with personality. It's just there's a concern in Carrington or Man United or whatever you want to call it. There's a concern that Sancho... Look, basically what I was told is if Jadon Sancho was an up-and-coming young player from the youth setup who was 19, happy days. You give him a couple of years, sink or swim, sell him, keep him. Bit like Alanga, bit like Garnacho. That scenario would be fine with the talent that Jadon Sancho's got. But what I was told is the problem they've got with Sancho is he's a £75 million player on £300,000 a week who isn't performing better than the 18-year-old who's come from the youth setup. So, and he's certainly nowhere near Rashford or Antony in Ten Hag's opinion. So, little bit like Harry Maguire, he is the fourth choice in his position. And yes, you can play off the right and yes, you can play off the left, but it's the same for Maguire. He could play off the right and the left at centre-back, but he's fourth choice. And Sancho's fourth choice. And although they're very, very different, and I'd rather keep Sancho, I'm not bothered about Maguire, this is the situation. And that wage lies heavy on Ten Hag's thoughts. So if Eric Ten Hag is like, he's always going to be fourth choice, you take the money you can get. But he'd be very, very lucky if United let him go for 40 million because you'd need Qatar in charge for that. The question is, Mark, who is the better coach, Goldie or Poch? Oh, I love that. Love that clip. It's on my Twitter. Nick James says, I'm getting so nervous we won't do transfers until sale is done. We should have offloaded at least 3 or 4 players by now to raise funds. It's just poor, says Nick. Any truth in the Greenwood story from Faz, says it's AJR. Thank you very much for bringing that up. I'm not being sarcastic. I'll talk about that in a moment. And Niall D says, hi, Mark. Do you think there's a chance if there's no sale as advised by some papers, if Sheikh Jazim gets it, I'll be on the beer for a week, says Niall D. So basically, Faz, who's on the channel, had put a tweet out earlier basically saying that he'd heard that Mason Greenwood is preparing to come back to Manchester United and that he's very excited about it and that there's an indication that that he's training and preparing, and there could be an official announcement and communications out soon enough. I mean, in fairness, that to me doesn't sound inaccurate. I think it's well known that that Mason Greenwood is training and is preparing to play next season, and that preparation will be no different to if he's going to play for Manchester United or if he's going to play for Lazio or Fenerbahce. He will still be prepping, and he is prepping. What the decision's going to be, I don't know. I mean, people are saying good, people are saying shit, this, that and the other. I'll say what I said to Faz. I said, at the end of the day, if he comes back and plays for Man United next season, he comes back and plays for Manchester United next season. But that's a hell of a PR shitstorm Man United are walking into. And they've also got to prepare the lad himself. I don't think people realise, because what happens with Greenwood is you either can't stand the thought of him coming back or you want him back. There is two extremes. I don't think people are even sitting on the fence. I think you either want him back or you don't. And you have to respect that. That's just a difference of opinion. You don't have to agree with it, but you have to respect it. So you get these two factions. I don't want him anywhere near United at the moment. I want him back tomorrow. Two opinions there, and United have got to balance both. I think the easiest decision for United is not to bring him back, because the response to him being brought back, I think, will be bigger than not bringing him back. If that makes sense. But what people always seem to forget here is you get all this innocent until proven guilty and all that lot, but nobody acknowledges the mental health issues that Mason Greenwood might be facing next season if United just go, yeah, come back, put the shirt on, you'll be absolutely fine. There'll be people in the dressing room who don't want him there. There'll be people in the fan base who don't want him there. And beyond that, there'll be the media and rival fans who absolutely abuse him week in, week out. So I think United have a duty of care to any employee to look out for them. And I don't see it being spoken about enough. It's always about, should we bring him back? Shouldn't we bring him back? And I'm sure he wants to come back, but he'll have never witnessed anything in his life about what he's going to witness away from home if he puts a United shirt on next season. And we also don't know what he'll witness at Old Trafford, because there may well be boos from United fans if he walks into Old Trafford. So United need to factor all these things in. It's a really difficult one. For me, I think you loan him for a year and see what happens. But I'm not in charge. It's not up to me. But what I will say is, and I think Faz is right, because we've been saying it for a while now, there needs to be an answer in the next 2 or 3 weeks, because when July comes, pre-season kicks in. So again, I expect there will be an announcement very, very soon, and there needs to be. We need an announcement on Greenwood. We need an announcement on the sale. We need announcements on outgoings. We need announcements on ingoings, and we need announcements on contracts for like De Gea and Rashford. You know, United, what are you waiting for? We're nearly halfway through June, and there's 5 things you need to get moving on. How do you rate Leverkusen's Wirtz, says Aidan. I mean, he was a player we were linked to before. Daniel Patel, welcome to the Members Club. Desmond's gifted a membership. Almaz, I love your shoes. Keep up the great content, says Almaz. I'm not wearing any shoes. Thank you very much for the super chats and the new members tonight. Let's move on through the news, because we're sort of diverting off, which is absolutely fine. But let's just continue with what we were talking about. So we've spoken about Mark Ogden in the ESPN. He has been on the United stand a few times, as has Rob Dawson. Now, he's given a few updates himself. This is what he's had to say. Quite a few updates, actually. He says, Manchester United are unhappy with Brandon Williams' comments after Man City's Champions League victory. Well, I mean, a lot of people enjoyed those comments because, you know, there was... why would Man United be unhappy with those comments? Because I think it's just a Man United player going rogue that doesn't look good for brand Manchester United. I think that's what that's all about. I think it's... we don't get 15% for Maddison Blazing Aces. It was a Norwich fan who said it. He was bought from Norwich. I think Man United have got a few problems with Brandon Williams. I mean, there was that picture, wasn't there? There was the one where he was talking about Maguire when he was on something as well. I think Man United might have bigger issues with Brandon Williams than him going live on his Instagram. But look, let United solve that. I'd rather they solve the Mason Greenwood issue than the Brandon Williams one. I mean, that needs to be solved quickly. But, let's see what happens with Brandon Williams. I don't see a future at Man United for him anyway, so I think we need to be moving him on. And again, he's another player that needs an answer, and needs an answer very, very quickly. Next, Rob Dawson said this: Chelsea are not the only club interested in Onana and Manier, with Man United thought to be looking for a new goalkeeper. That's from the Daily Telegraph. Sorry. I mean, what I would say about the goalkeeper situation is, and I saw something today about Man United have made exploratory talks with Porto and Costa. We're in a transfer window. I'm trying to put this across in a professional way. We're in a transfer window. If I said to you, Manchester United are exploring the possibility of signing Kylian Mbappe, I wouldn't be wrong. Because at some point, if we get Qatar, we will consider Kylian Mbappe and we'll explore the possibilities. We might be told straight away, go fuck yourself. But we explore hundreds of transfers every year. Every year. So I'm pretty sure we will have explored Onana, Magnon, Pickford, Costa. We'll be exploring all of these deals. Doesn't mean we're going to do them. Brighton are brilliant at this. They basically have 2 or 3 options for every player in case they get injured or they leave. That's how a good club works. So we will be... I don't know whether United do this, but really we should have left backs lined up. We should be exploring the possibilities of left backs, even though we don't need one. We should still be exploring it, because you never know. If Luke Shaw on England duty does his cruciate ligament and he's out for 8 months, you need to buy a left back. See what I mean? So that's what I mean. I think sometimes people get overexcited about United being linked to a player. I don't dispute the fact that we've probably spoken to half of Europe and their agents. We will do that. We scout loads of players because you never know what's going to happen. Like, look, why are we talking to Costa or Onana, or if we're not going to buy them? Well, what if David De Gea does go to Saudi Arabia? What if he breaks his leg? We need a first choice goalkeeper, and there'd have to be some sort of emergency funding for it. So, good clubs do have contingency plans. So, I've got no doubt that we have inquired about Costa and Onana. I'm sure we have, but it might just be, we are quite interested, but we're only willing to give you 40 million. And then Porto and Inter go, piss off, and you go, well, they offer, if you want to talk. You want to talk. If you don't be in contact. So those things can happen. Of course they can. My live chat is... here we go. Mojo is gifted 10 memberships. He's a legend of the chat. Legend Mojo. Don't forget, if you are a member, you might want to watch it again anyway. A lot of you have. Don't forget, we've got part 1, the first half of the Dublin live show last week. Part 2 will be going up on Friday. So you get the second half of the show. 45 minutes each way. If you're on the members you are a member, don't forget to watch it. I was watching it again last night. Why does everyone think Mount is used? I've done that one from Vivek, and let's just hope this is the last Grazer transfer window. The incompetence of these people is unreal, says Ice Wolf Gaming. Ice Wolf Gaming. No. Vanilla Ice Wolf Gaming. Manchester United have been asked to be kept informed. Okay, so this is Rob Dawson. Manchester United, this is true as well, because this came in from Fabrizio, was it a week ago or 2 weeks ago? Manchester United are monitoring Kim Min-jae and Axel Disasi, who's obviously based in France, but their priority in the transfer market remains landing a top-class striker and a midfielder. Manchester United have been asked to be kept informed of developments regarding both defenders, although there has been no direct contact with their clubs. Well, that's right by Rob Dawson, but also it's double right, because what he's basically saying, firstly, on Kim Min-jae, is that United would like him and they want to be kept informed about him as well. But we haven't had any contact with Napoli because we don't need to have any contact with Napoli. Manchester United have made no contact with Napoli because we don't bloody need to. He's got a release clause in July. I have been to Crow Park in Dylan. I went to watch Take That. Yes. So I don't know what's going on with the Monaco lad, who is 25. But in relation to Kim Min-jae, we have held talks with his representatives, as have Newcastle, and we don't need to speak to Napoli. We will never need to speak to Napoli other than to say there's the release clause. It's up to him. Napoli have no power at the moment. So yeah, I'm not too concerned about we haven't spoken to Napoli. I think Axel from Monaco may well be the backup there, but keep your eyes on Timber. I still wouldn't say that he's out the window. Hi Mark, thank you for doing what you do. Been following you for years. You've brought my family together watching the United stand. Go United, says Buster. I hope you're doing well, Buster. Thank you very much. As I said about Kim Min-jae, we're quite fortunate in a way because we don't need to be... Sometimes a transfer window works well when it's staggered, and you can't stagger it because everyone's available at the same time and you're competing with other people. But with Kim Min-jae, you actually can't do anything until July the 1st. So it's a little bit like Rabiot as well. Until July the 1st, you can't do anything about it. So it almost works. But look, if Newcastle get Kim Min-jae, I mean, that's just embarrassing. It's embarrassing. George says he can see him with Botman at Newcastle. If Kim Min-jae goes to Newcastle, that's just another sign of the times. You know, Newcastle are going to become the next Man City, and they're going to say bye bye Man United as they drive away from us in their wing mirror. But yeah, good point. You know, the problem with Man United is it's not like we're going to get any other business done before July the 1st, and then it all becomes gridlocked again, doesn't it? Also from Rob Dawson as well, he says that what else did he say? This was Rasmus Højlund. Rasmus Højlund on Manchester United. It's a huge club, so I must have done something right if it says they want me. My goal is to reach the top shelf, and you can say that Manchester United is, so it would be huge if that happened. There have been no video calls with Ten Hag. I can't say anything about that. Rashford's liked him on Instagram. Look, as I said, apart from Mason Mount, from the people I speak to, and I've already said it to you 2 weeks ago, so you can go and check the videos, hotter than the sun, Rasmus Højlund to Manchester United. I'm not going to sit here and say it's done, because it's not done, and United obviously need to finalise it, but he wants to come to United, yes. Erik Ten Hag wants him, yes. And Atalanta are willing to do a deal, which involves add-ons and is quite a reasonable deal. Why we're not doing it? Well, why have we not sold Dean Henderson yet? Why have we not bought Mason Mount yet? Why have we not got David De Gea's contract situation sorted yet? Because everything's on hold. So I think with Højlund, there's a very, very high chance that's going to happen. It's expected to happen from the people I speak to. And the only thing that holds anything up with United is God knows who's doing the deals. Sometimes I think it's Zippy, George and Bungle from Rainbow. But no, after Mason Mount, right now, I'd say Mason Mount's the deal that United are working on the most. I'd say Rasmus Højlund's very, very close behind it. And then behind that, God knows. I mean, I really don't know. Come July, Kim Min-jae, but I don't know. I don't know what United are doing beyond Mount and Højlund. They're the two at the moment that are really like the hot deals. You expect Kim Min-jae in July, we'll jump on that. But the other midfielder, don't know. Looks like Declan Rice is going to Arsenal. Looks like Casido's going to Chelsea. I mean, how Man United lose out on Casido, who apparently supports Man United, to Chelsea, who aren't even in Europe. Money, innit? They've just got the money available that United don't seem to have at the moment. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. And further to that, if we get Højlund, will he be the only striker we get? Or have they got someone else lined up? Most people who want Qatar are the online fans who don't know what they're on about, says Sandwich. You're looking for an argument, aren't they? Even after a buyer is announced, how long till things get the go-ahead on transfers? Does all paperwork have to be signed and funds go to the Glazers, says Tomo. City wouldn't think twice about signing Costa. They signed Edison when they had Bravo, says Shane. But it's Shane, look, I know what's going on with the goalkeeping situation. I don't know whether anybody's ever verbalized it like this, but I 100% know what's happening with the goalkeeper situation. It's very, very obvious, and it's been communicated in the industry quite extensively. I think I assume I've read it because it's well known. Maybe nobody's actually wrote it, but nobody knows it. Everybody knows it. Zippy, George and Bungle would do a better job, says Andy. I know, I love Zippy. Get Zippy in the deals. He'll sort it out. Bungle bodge. But the situation with the goalkeeper is very, very easy to explain. If Erik ten Hag had what Pep Guardiola's got, you probably would have Costa in goal. You would, because he does want to play with a goalkeeper like Onana. He wants that. So he'd buy one. And he'd probably say to De Gea, I respect you, let the battle commence. That's what Ten Hag would do. He would buy a Costa or an Onana. It's well known he would do that. But he's not doing it because he hasn't got the funds to do it. So he has said, let's keep De Gea. Try and get me another goalkeeper that's a younger goalkeeper, because I've only got so much money to spend and my priority has to be strikers, midfielders and a centre-back. So we're not buying Costa or Onana or anybody else because Ten Hag doesn't think he's got the budget to do it. If he did have the budget to do it, he would do it. And I think it's really unfair that people think Ten Hag is sat there saying, I'm not buying a keeper, I'm not buying Costa, I'm sticking with De Gea, because that's what he actually wants to do. He's doing what most managers in the world do. You can't have everything you want. You have to prioritise. And he has to prioritise other positions at the moment. This is completely well known. I don't know whether anybody's wrote the article, but I always thought it was common knowledge because it's common knowledge. But this is the situation. If Erik ten Hag had £500 million to spend, you would see Costa or Onana come into Man United. It doesn't mean De Gea would leave. He does like De Gea, but he'd probably just, he'd keep both and probably play Costa. He would do that. He hasn't got the money to do that. He's got to prioritise, and therefore he's got to go get me a goalkeeper and a striker and a centre-back and no midfielders, or try and do what he's trying to do, which is get midfielders, a striker, maybe a centre-back and then a goalkeeper. So that's what Ten Hag is trying to do. He doesn't... People who say, well, look what Pep did. Yeah, because Pep could do it. Ten Hag has a limited budget this summer and he has to prioritise. And I don't disagree with what he's doing. But, I think this is why some of us want a full sale. And Robert Blake, I don't know how long you've been with the channel, but you're gone. Well done. Good one, George. Get rid of him. He basically said Goldbridge just pretending to be an in the know. I don't need to pretend, mates. We get loads of... they physically come on this channel. I'm WhatsApping them all the time. I don't need to pretend because I message them about stuff. I actually sit next to them and do shows with them. I don't need to pretend. If I wanted to pretend, I could pretend stuff like guaranteed. I've spoken to the agent of Kim Min-jae. He's definitely signing for Man United. I'll guess. That's what ITK is, guesswork. 100%. Kim Min-jae is nailed on to come to Manchester United. And then when he doesn't, I can say, oh, he was nailed on, but Newcastle just put in stupid money. That's what happened. So, no, I don't do that because it's not fair on the community that we've built. As I said, Rasmus Højlund 2 weeks ago, hotter than the sun. Fully expect it to happen. But I ain't going to sit here and say 100% because United are negotiating on it. But I do think that Ten Hag gets a little bit of bad press around the goalkeeper because he would bring a goalkeeper in of the quality that many of you want, but he has to prioritise based on the budget that he's got. And if you wanted to buy Costa, you're not going to get one of the you're not going to get one of the midfielders. Ben Jacobs said we're in for first choice keeper, says Malps. Well, he's not wrong. He's not wrong because Manchester United want a goalkeeper that will challenge David De Gea. So by definition, they have to be capable of being a first team goalkeeper. But what you're expecting is probably very different to the reality because we haven't got £50 million to spend on a goalkeeper. We've probably got 20 max. you're talking about Sommer. You're talking about the Anderlecht goalkeeper at the moment. That's the level I know for a fact United are looking at. They're looking at goalkeepers less than £20 million, which is why we're heavily linked to the Anderlecht goalkeeper, who could be about to go to, was it Brighton or Burnley? Things can change. They can change. But right now, and I'm surprised we've got to do this, let's go back to the budget. The budget is about £200 million. 60 on Mount, 100 on a striker, that's 160 million. You've only got 40 left. You still need somebody to do the Casemiro role. Many people want Kim Min-jae, and you want 50 million on a keeper. You've just gone over 300 million quid. Where are you getting that from? You've still got to do the maths. I know it's been a while since a transfer window because we did sod all in January, but you've still got to do the maths in a January you've still got to do the maths as a fan in the summer transfer window. You can't just say get that, because you're living in a fantasy. We're not owned by Abu Dhabi. We're not owned by Saudi Arabia. So you've got to be realistic about what we're doing, and you've got to do the maths. We're going to spend around 100 on a striker. We're going to spend around 50, 60 on Mount. Around 40 on Kim Min-jae. That's 200 million straight away, and you still haven't got the most important signing of the lot, which is the guy who's going to do the job that Casemiro does, or do it with him. Hi Mark, once, twice, 5 months a member. Really want to see Rasmus in a United shirt. Any idea how much we're going to get for Dean Henderson, says Drew. That Dean Henderson deal should be happening, and it should be happening quickly. He's not in the England squad. He's probably on holiday. 20 million. Hi Mark, there's a small city in the state of Alabama called Prattville. You should visit it during the US tour, says Sig. Thank you very much. And this whole situation with Qatar and Sir Jim is like waiting 4 hours in line to go on the Smiler, and then it breaks down as you reach the front of the queue, says Ishmael. Thank you very much. What's the Smiler? Is that like a prostitute or something? I've never heard of it. I wouldn't wait 4 hours for that, and I wouldn't pay for it, and I wouldn't go with it for free. God knows what you'd catch. City wouldn't think twice about signing Costa. Done that one from Shane. Thank you very much. I'm intrigued to know what the Smiler is. What is Ishmael queuing up 4 hours for the Smiler for? My mind is boggling here. I'm so hoping the sale of the club to Qatar happens soon, says Daniel. Hi Mark, do you think Garnacho should get the number 7, says Bob. I think the number 7 should be kept for another year, because Vinicius Jr. has just taken the number 7 shirt at Real Madrid. So I'm thinking in a year's time, Kylian Mbappe goes to Real Madrid and we take Vinicius Jr. and he has the number 7 shirt. That would be the dream. Happy birthday to my fellow mod and our legend in the chat, George Kyle, says Susan. Yep, spread the love for George. It's his birthday today. The Smiler is a ride at Alton Towers. Okay. That's absolutely fine. Mohammed, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for joining. It's a roller coaster. Bit like Manchester United's transfer, isn't it? I haven't been to Alton Towers in years. I found it very disappointing. My favourite theme park I ever went to was the American Adventure in, I think it was near Derby. I used to love the American Adventure. They had this massive, you know, like the, what do they call it? Ayers Rock. You know, the one that's got all the presidents on it? That's in Australia. It's not Ayers Rock. Mount Rushmore. They had like a massive Mount Rushmore made out of plastic, but inside it, they just had loads, and it was like an indoor play area, and they had ball pits, you know, forts to play, and it was bloody. The American Adventure, I bloody loved it. The missile went upside down and everything. People who want De Gea to be sold right now are really spoiled and have never worked on a budget. By the way, please don't get the 90% club out this window, says Kanishka. You know what? We will be operating on a budget, but at the moment we're not even operating. We're not even operating on a budget. So there we go. A HOJLUND hat-trick Friday, mark my words, says Pete. Just on the week this year, just on the week this week, you do need to realise that the transfer window opens up on Wednesday, and the Glazers need to do something by the end of the week. So I am expecting something big. And let me just get rid of this idiot. Oh, you know what, George? You're having a great night, even though it's your birthday. Well done. Bedroom blogger. Simon Jordan, it's probably him. Bedroom blogger. What a prat. This is a great Monday show, says Nick. As Ben Jacobs... Look, I would implore you to watch the Ben Jacobs interview with Beth this afternoon if you're interested in the sale. It's quite heavy, but it's really informative. But a lot of people who've been around the sale of Manchester United reporting on it have said this week has the potential to be very significant, because there's a lot of pressure at the moment, because everybody knows United have got the handbrake on, and they can't keep that handbrake on for much longer. Like, there's too many decisions that need making around all sorts of things: contracts, Greenwood, sales, incomings, the sale of the club. So we'd all be right to say I bet nothing happens, but actually it feels like something has to happen this week, and I think it will. For what it's worth, I've got no inside information on that, but I just feel like something will happen this week. It could be tomorrow, it could be Wednesday, it could be Thursday, it could be Friday, it could be Friday night. But I think something has to happen, because, and I'll go back to what I said at the start, the most interesting thing to come out of today is that Qatar aren't trying to get this deal done because they're fed up. They're trying to get this deal done because they're worried about United falling behind this summer after a good season. And ultimately, there's no point getting hold of the club in August when all the transfers have been done. They know it needs to be. They know the transfers need to be being done now, and they want a decision on the sale now, because there's no. If they're not in charge, it's not their problem. But if they are going to be in charge, they need to get on with it, and that's basically what Althani and his people are saying. Look, if you're going to pick us, because we need to get moving yesterday. If you're not going to pick us, let us know and carry on doing whatever your plan is. But there is that pressure there to find out. 100 million budget, 80 million for Casido, sell Fred, Henderson, Alanga, Williams, Bailey, Tellez to bring in a further 60 million, spend 45 million on Kim Min-jae, sell McTominay and Maguire to raise 40 million to spend on Højlund and Bart Verbruggen. Nick James, you've just got the job as Director of Football. Qatar will be in contact. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the shows we put on for you today. It's been a busy day. I mean, we had Fabrizio Romano on That's Football, which was fantastic. I enjoyed that. But yeah, definitely well worth watching that Ben Jacobs interview if you've got time. I'll be back tomorrow, of course, on the 10 o'clock show. And take care, everyone. Smash a like on the video. Make sure you're subscribing. Get involved. And it feels like things are happening, but it feels like they're stacking up. I feel with United at the moment, it's a little bit like, you know, when there's a funnel and, you know, everything's just sort of, it's like a dam, isn't it? The water's pressing against the dam and there's a little trickle coming through. And it's not like there's nothing there. It's not like there's no pressure. The dam is being kept shut by the Glazers. And when they open it, I think loads of things are going to happen really quickly. But at the moment, the dams are shut and there's so much pressure behind it. There's so many things that can happen. You know, it's really just about opening that dam, and then loads of things are going to happen. Like, that pressure is building. That dam is going to break at some point. But when is it going to break? And when it does, the water flows. Neville saying United need a keeper when he was a shining light this season. Keane buried him on BT Sports, saying United had no other right backs, as Kanishka. Gan, welcome to the Members Club. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching.